6 humans stood in a row across the dark marble floor, their postures loose, faces calm. None knelt. Veshmore, warlord of the Draka, felt the first cold thread of something he could not name. They did not tremble. They did not plead. They only watched him, as if waiting for him to prove their predictions true. 3 weeks earlier, the frontier colony had fallen under the weight of Draka warships. Veshmore strode through the burning streets, his gilded armor reflecting the flames. He had come for trophies.
Find me the highest status survivors, the ones these Terran worms valued most.
Advisor Kale combed through dossiers, pointing out a fleet officer, a scientist, a politician. 6 of the colony's most distinguished. They were cleaned, dressed, and marched into the heart of the Draka Empire without a hint of resistance. Veshmore watched from his private chamber, scanning their records. A fleet captain, a senator, a diplomat, perfect specimens.
They should be shattered, but they stand as if they chose this place.
Kale presented the 6 captives before Veshmore on the smoking tarmac. He circled them slowly, his gaze settling on the woman in the dark fleet uniform.
Your file says fleet captain. How many ships did you lose when we shattered your colony?
Captain Margaret Chen, 3rd Expeditionary Group, all of them, warlord. But you already knew that.
She spoke as if reporting the weather. No anger, no grief. That was wrong.
They were loaded onto the Draka flagship without resistance, the colony burning behind them. Inside the palace, they walked through golden corridors, their footsteps steady, their expressions unreadable. Veshmore ordered the best quarters prepared. His trophies must be pristine for the court to admire.
Let them enjoy their comfort. Soon enough, they would learn what it meant to be owned.
And so 6 humans took their place in the warlord's collection, their calm a splinter he could not yet feel. The humans were given lavish quarters overlooking an alien garden. No bars, only a guarded door. Veshmore observed them through surveillance, pleased with their apparent acceptance of captivity.
Phase 1 is complete. This is the stage we prepared for.
Then we proceed on schedule. The real work begins when they trust us enough to forget we exist.
Patience. The Draka court is a nest of rivalries. A few well-placed remarks and they'll do the destruction for us.
Leo had already begun modifying a local data slate, his engineer's hands swift on stolen tools.
He watched them converse in low tones, mistaking their calm for the resignation of conquered prey.
We must be above reproach for the first year. Let them parade us. Every question is a weapon.
And so the 6 settled into the warlord's palace, their true purpose hidden behind polite smiles. Veshmore saw only perfect trophies. It would be months before he felt the splinter again. A year passed. The 6 were paraded at state functions, interviewed by alien journalists, their answers always polite, always correct. At the grand banquet, Margaret faced a journalist's question about life under Draka rule.
We have seen much of the Empire's inner workings. It is instructive to observe how power is maintained.
Instructive. As if they were studying the Empire, not simply enduring it.
He shook off the thought. She was a captive, nothing more. But later, David was heard remarking to a client warlord about the challenges of managing vast territories.
Even the mightiest empires can trip on their own supply lines. Just a matter of time, really.
A week later, a minor treasury discrepancy surfaced. Coincidence, surely.
The human's words echoed. Just a matter of time. He crushed the thought instantly.
Yet, Veshmore's satisfaction now carried a tiny, persistent aftertaste of doubt. The treasury error struck without warning. A garrison payment gone, leaving a frontier fleet unpaid and restless. Scribes tore through records, but the funds had simply vanished into the labyrinthine bureaucracy.
Even the mightiest empires can be undone by a misplaced decimal.
The human's words landed too precisely. A blade in the dark.
Veshmore summoned Kael to his private chamber, demanding answers. The advisor blamed a junior clerk for a one-time glitch.
Find the real cause, or I will find a new advisor.
The error was buried under a fired clerk, but Veshmore's hand trembled as he set down the report. At the next banquet, the humans were flawless, their smiles a perfect mask of innocent captives.
They are trophies, nothing more. His certainty felt thinner now.
The audience, however, could see the invisible threads tightening around the warlord's throne. A duel erupted in the pit, two client warlords hacking at each other over a slight no one could name. The only common thread, both had dined beside the human senator the night the feud began.
What insult did he give? Not recall. Something about honor. The warlord's reply was a fumble of confusion.
Veshmore stared at the star map, connecting dots. Every recent dispute had started beneath his own roof, beside his trophies.
They were a weapon. Unarmed, soft, laughing, yet a weapon.
At the next feast, the six remained flawless, their laughter a perfect mimicry of innocence.
Increase the surveillance. Every door, every whisper, every glance, I will have proof.
But the humans spoke in code too subtle for Draka decoders, and the pattern tightened unseen.
I am being hunted by ghosts wearing human smiles.
Veshmore summoned the six to his private chamber, guards lining the walls. The air tasted of cold stone and old anger.
3 client warlords have tried to kill each other since you arrived. Are you responsible?
We are 6 unarmed prisoners, warlord. If your empire fractures, perhaps you should look to your own throne.
He separated them, interrogating each alone. Their answers were identical puzzles, polite, logical, utterly useless.
They were either innocent or trained to be ghosts. Neither comforted him.
That night in their quarters, they convened as always. No whispers of fear, only precision.
The warlord's paranoia is a resource. We feed it slowly. Let him tighten his own noose.
Leo's hidden slate pulsed with new intercepts. Client warlord communications now seeded with doubt.
He doubled the guards, triple-checked their cells, but found nothing. The invisible threads only tightened. I am strangling on air, and I cannot even name the hand.
2 years after the capture, the 6 humans had become fixtures in the Draka court, their edges worn smooth by time.
Curious, isn't it? How Warlord Veshmore favors the council of soft-skinned aliens over his own blood.
What did the humans say to you, cousin? Speak it aloud before the court.
He only suggested that you value alien trophies above Draka blood. A harmless jest.
Harmless. You coddle jealousy like a hatchling. If you want my favor, earn it, but you are too weak to even demand it openly.
Laughter rippled through the hall. Threx's scales burned with humiliation as the court jeered. The 6 humans watched, motionless, their faces blank as carved stone.
This insult will not stand. Veshmore, blood remembers.
He had meant to crush dissent, but instead, he had forged a blade aimed at his own throat.
The crack spread wider, and the 6 humans still had not moved. A critical payment scheduled for the Frontier Fleet vanished from the treasury. The alert reached Veshmore within the hour.
Another vanished payment. This is not coincidence. Summon the treasurer immediately.
Before the treasurer could answer, word came from the Frontier Fleet. The crews had mutinied.
A fleet unpaid was a fleet turned to chaos. His empire, built on gold and claw, cracking under invisible pressure.
In the public square, the treasurer begged mercy, but Veshmore's blade descended. From a palace balcony, the 6 humans watched the execution with unreadable expressions.
He felt their gaze even from across the courtyard. The ghosts smiled.
The execution did not quiet the mutiny. It spread to 3 more legions, fracturing the war map.
Round up my council. We purge the disloyal. but his voice shook.
The Empire leaked blood through cracks no one could name, and the 6 humans remained untouched, eternal. Vesh-Mor stripped away silk and soft beds, throwing the 6 into identical freezing cells.
Enough! I know you are no colonists. Who trained you? Which power sent you?
We are survivors of a broken colony. Your paranoia is unbecoming of a warlord.
He moved to the scientist, Adrian, who offered only a tired, polished nothing.
You took everything from us, warlord. What more could we possibly give?
Their stories were perfect, rehearsed. These were not victims. They were operatives.
He ordered harsher measures, sleepless lights, half rations. Yet the 6 endured, their calm unbroken.
They have been trained to resist at a level that speaks of a major power. I am facing professionals.
Outside, 3 more legions declared independence. The war map fractured further into red chaos, and in their cells, the 6 remained motionless, unbroken, eternal. Kale's surveillance finally caught a whisper. A dense burst of signal noise from the cells, too, patterned to be static. He brought the captured fragment to Vesh-Mor, still steaming from the decryption arrays.
So they do communicate. What does it say?
The partial decode scrolled across the screen. Embedded keywords, operational phase, primary target, achieved, awaiting extraction window. No source identifier.
They are not survivors. They are enemy intelligence operatives. And I brought them into my home.
He summoned them to the public throne hall, the evidence flickering in his grip.
Your disguise is broken. I have your coded transmissions. Who sent you?
You have fragments. You have nothing. We are still 6 unarmed prisoners.
Vesh-Mor saw the trap. If he executed them, he lost his only leverage. If he kept them, the poison remained.
Intelligence operatives from an unknown power, not mere spies. The operation was too vast, too precise. The question gnawed deeper than any blade.
Vesh-Mor raised his voice to the assembled court. The decoded fragment displayed for all to see.
You are spies. Admit it now, or face execution before this court.
Execution. If we feared death, we wouldn't be here.
The silence that followed was a living thing. Vesh-Mor's hand, holding the evidence, trembled.
They don't care. They have already accepted death. Killing them gives me nothing. Take them back to their cells. I will decide their fate later.
The court rustled with confusion. Threx watched from the crowd, his eyes bright with unreadable calculation. In the cold cells, the 6 humans remained as they had been, calm, undaunted, eternal.
I hold the proof, yet I am the prisoner. They have taken my empire while I watched.
He had to find out who sent them. But for now, they lived. Vesh-Mor ordered the neural probe prepared in the darkest sublevel of the palace.
Adrian, you will yield what your tongue hides, or your mind will break under the probe.
You will only find what I allow you to see.
The probe crackled to life. Adrian's body jerked, but his eyes remained terrifyingly steady. Data streamed across Vesh-Mor's monitor. The name of a loyal military advisor painted as the human's handler. He did not hesitate. He ordered the advisor seized and brought to the execution square. The advisor died protesting innocence, his blood pooling beneath Vesh-Mor's throne. Within hours, 3 more advisors resigned, terrified of the warlord's growing madness.
The probe gave me a name, but the Empire slips further. I am feeding the chaos.
And in their cells, the 6 humans remained motionless, the architects of a war they never fired a shot in. 3 client warlords broadcast a joint declaration. Vesh-Mor was unfit to rule. Open rebellion. The war map shattered. Vesh-Mor stared at the glowing fractures, his council silent behind him. Desperate, he descended to the cells. Margaret met his eyes through the bars.
The Empire is burning. Tell me how to stop the bleeding, or I will bleed you.
You need a decisive strike. Send your best legions against the strongest rebel, while your cousin Threx guards the capital.
Secure the treasury world. Gold in your vaults keeps the swords loyal.
Veshmore clung to their words. He issued the orders, split his fleet, dispatch Threx, defend the treasury. Within days, Threx turned the garrison against him, declaring himself protector of the realm.
They gave me the path, and I walked it. Now my blood holds my own throne hostage.
The civil war had begun, and the 6 humans sat in their cells, waiting. His generals brought him the choice: defend the capital or the treasury world. Splitting the fleet was suicide.
But the humans' words gnawed at him. Secure the treasury, send the best legions. He would do both.
He divided his remaining forces. The strongest warships raced to the treasury, while a token garrison held the palace. The rebels struck where he was weakest. The capital fell in a single night. The treasury world burned soon after. Threx stood before the council of warlords, his scarred armor gleaming, and named Veshmore a fool before them all.
Your reign ends, cousin. I challenge you for the throne by blood and blade.
He knew then that the humans had baited him into this corner. The duel was their final move.
The ancient law bound him. He could not refuse without losing what little honor remained.
I accept. But know this, Threx. You dance to a tune you cannot hear.
The challenge was set. In 7 days, the Empire would have a new ruler, or none at all. The 7 days bled away in silence. On the final morning, Veshmore donned his ceremonial armor alone.
They played me like a game piece. Every move, every word leading here.
He stopped at their cells, a ghost of the conqueror who had once paraded them.
You still come to us for answers, Warlord.
I come to understand. What power could train a handful of soft creatures to tear down an empire?
The power of a species that learned survival is not a gift. It is a choice. You chose this when you took us.
He saw then the terrible, patient truth. They were never prisoners. They had chosen him as their battlefield.
You picked me long ago. This was never my conquest.
The sun was low when they led him to the sand of the arena. The roar of the crowd was a distant thunder.
Your reign ends here, cousin. Today the Empire washes itself of your weakness.
Guards lined the 6 humans along the arena balcony, their chains glinting in the low sun. Below, Veshmore strode onto the sand, his ceremonial armor heavy. The crowd's roar pressed against him like a wall.
He raised his eyes to the balcony, where the 6 stood like silent sentinels. No fear, no triumph, only stillness. You could speak now, save me with a word of truth.
But the 6 said nothing. Their silence was the final, unbreakable verdict. Threx charged, his energy blade screaming. The sand erupted beneath his feet. Veshmore met the blow with a parry that shook the very air.
You think you fight a weak ruler, but my hands are already stained with the blood you will never see.
Above, Margaret watched. Her heartbeat was the slow cadence of a mission reaching its end. The duel would decide nothing. The Empire had already fallen. Threx's blade found the seam beneath Veshmore's arm, sliding through gilded plate with a screech of rent metal.
For the Empire. Die knowing your weakness killed it.
Veshmore crumpled to the sand, the light in his amber eyes flickering once before going dark. The crowd erupted, not in cheers but in raw panic. Guards fled their posts. The arena became a flood of terrified bodies.
Phase end. Proceed to exfiltration point.
With a series of quiet clicks, Leo's handiwork from weeks earlier, their chains fell to the stone floor. No one stopped them. The Draka had become a storm with no center, and they walked through its eye. On the hidden landing pad, an unmarked Terran shuttle sat waiting, its ramp open like a promise kept. They climbed aboard without hurry, the weight of 3 years lifting from their shoulders in the recycled air. Behind them, the trophy hall stood empty, its conqueror's blood still warm on the sand. The shuttle hummed, but the story stretched back further, to a sterile room months before the first Draka warship crossed the border. Terran intelligence had selected them, 6 specialists, each a master of pressure, of patience, of invisible war. Their target was a warlord who collected trophies. Their mission, become the trophies he could not resist. Months before the conquest, they were planted on the frontier colony, high-profile colonists with cover identities so perfect they bled. When the Draka came, they did not flee. They stood in the open, exactly where the collectors would find them. The Empire did not capture them. It delivered them, as neatly as a gift-wrapped bomb. Now, 3 years later, the extraction team verified their identities with quiet nods. No names, only recognition. 2 years inside the palace had yielded more access than any Terran spy ring had ever achieved against the Draka. Their debriefing would rewrite intelligence textbooks, and their names would be sealed under a classification that did not exist. They had walked into the warlord's home because they chose to, and when they walked out, there was no one left to stop them. In a sterile room beneath Terran command, the 6 received honors no public citation would ever record. A single folder, stamped Picked Prison, slid into a vault with no number, no release date. Their true names were added to a memorial wall that no outsider would ever see. Behind them, the Draka throne hall stood empty, its banners striped by firelight and ghostly silence. 5 of them gathered months later in a quiet bar, raising glasses to an empty chair. Margaret had bought a storefront in Sacramento with cash and a quiet, unbreakable smile. She hung no medals, told no stories. The dough needed kneading, and that was enough. Her customers knew her as Margaret. They did not know the rest. Behind the flour jars, a single faded medal lay tucked away, catching no one's eye. The operation was complete. The prison had been a stage, and the actors had walked into the sun. Some mornings, Margaret woke before the sun, the scent of yeast already rising from the kitchen. She served her first customer with the same steady calm she had worn in a warlord's court. Her hands, once poised over fleet schematics, now shaped dough with a quiet, rhythmic certainty. Behind the flour jars, the metal remained, its edges dulling in the Sacramento dust. Sometimes, in the window's reflection, she glimpsed the captain she had been, but only for a heartbeat. At dusk, she locked the door with a habit of scanning the street, a habit too deep to unlearn.
She had buried worlds. Now she baked bread. The trade felt fair.
The Sacramento night settled over the street, the bakery's warm glow a quiet anchor in the dark. She stood at the window for a moment longer, then turned back to the dough, and the peace held. The bakery was open again tomorrow. That was all the Empire she needed now. Some mornings, she paused at the window, letting the dawn wash over her. "Morning, Margaret," a customer called, and she answered with a smile that belonged entirely to this life. Behind the flour jars, the metal stayed silent, its edges worn smooth by time and dust. For a heartbeat, she saw the throne hall, its dark marble and dying embers, but then the image faded. The bakery's warm light spilled onto the empty sidewalk, a quiet sentinel in the early hour. Far away, the dark marble hall stood empty, its conqueror's blood long since turned to sand. Her customers knew her as Margaret. They did not know the rest. She turned back to the dough, her hands remembering only the rhythm of creation. The bakery opened its doors, another day of ordinary miracles. And somewhere across the stars, an empty throne gathered dust,